Hey everybody, it's Angelo Caruso with another report on our trip to Lebanon. It's not a part of the world that most people get to visit. The Middle East is a very interesting part of the world. It's an often misunderstood part of the world. And it was my second trip to Lebanon, and I thought I would talk for a few minutes and tell you a story about something that happened that illustrates not only what goes on in almost every major city, but also how our psychology can work against us, and even how well, probably the biggest lesson of all is you just have to look out for yourself all the time. You know, you have to be on alert and pay attention. This is just good travel advice, I think. So we were in Lebanon for 8 days total, 4 days at a conference where I spoke at a leadership conference, and then 4 days on our own, essentially. We stayed with some friends, but outside the conference environment anyway. And Renee didn't want to go on the trip initially because she hears things, and she's an alert woman. She's alert about her surroundings, and I don't know. She didn't feel this trip, at least initially. But we talked to some other people that had been, and she changed her mind and I decided to go. Now, having said that, we still talked about the idea of having what's called a New York face. You know, when you're walking around in any big city, you want to have what's called sometimes a New York City face. And this is this idea that, you wouldn't be as friendly and as casual as you are maybe in your own hometown. Hey, how are you? Nice to see you. Like in New York, the New York faces, you're more sober and you're paying attention and you're looking around. You got eyes in back of your head, right? And so it's a different sense of awareness, right? When you have a New York face. And I said to Renee, we got to go to Lebanon with a New York face. And she said, yeah, good idea. So we're on high alert for stuff to happen, and nothing happens the first 4 days that we're at the conference. Nothing happens the second 4 days when we're on our own. And now we're headed back to the airport, and we can see the finish line, right? So this is pretty cool. We can get out of the sun a little bit. And so we get to the airport, and there are a bunch of porters waiting to help people into the airport. And as usual, the porters are, safeguarding all of the carts. So there's 3 of us getting out of the car. Claire, a lady that we had just met on the trip, who we were sharing a ride back to the airport with her, Renee, and me. And we need help getting in to the airport because we have too much luggage. I had taken a tuxedo because there was a formal event. We've all got a lot of clothes and stuff, so 8 days and formal wear and all this. And so we need help, and so there's no dodging the porter. We got to get somebody to help us in. So we're trying to choose a porter that's, we can work with, or that seems interested in working with us. And we find a guy, and he's going to load up the bags. He seems quite friendly, but he doesn't speak English. At least that's the impression we have. He only speaks Arabic, right? There is no such language as Lebanese. They speak Arabic. And so he's going to load up all the bags from all 3 people onto the cart, and he's going to get us into the airport. Now, everything's proceeding the way it should, as you probably have experienced this a lot of times, when you travel. But in the Beirut airport, when you go into the airport, the very first thing you do is put your bags through security. Again, the Middle East being an interesting part of the world. So unlike, when you check your bags and that's when it goes through security, that's the first thing that happens. So all the bags have to come off the cart and now go through security, right? And then we go to the airline line and surrender our bags. You understand? And so this is interesting to me because they always tell you never, let your bags go out of your sight. And so what's the first thing I have to do in this strange land is this guy pushes us through the oh, it's raining, maybe. Pushes us through the line, right? And I have to turn my back on him while he puts our bags on the conveyor belt, right? So I've got New York state of mind, New York face, and I'm thinking, what's he doing with our bags? Could he put something in the bags? I'm uncomfortable with this. Just trying to be an alert traveler, not trying to cast aspersions, just trying to be an alert traveler. So we go through the metal detector, and the bags are trailing behind. I've got my back turned for a good period of time. And when the bags clear the metal detector, he puts them back on the cart. Now he's going to walk us into the right line for the airline. Claire's flying a different airline than Renee and I are. So he's going to. The plan is, somebody's going to get dropped off first, right? And then he's going to take the other person. So we get to a part of the airport, and the things are happening fast, and the guy doesn't speak English. And so he says to Claire, you stay. Now, there is no line. Claire's just standing by herself in a concourse, right, or a hallway. And he's going to take Renee and me to our airline, right? And then ostensibly he's going to come back and sort out Claire. Everything's happening pretty quickly. The guy says, come to me and Renee. And Renee and Claire's like this, like, you leaving me here, right? And so I said to Claire, if he's not back in 5 minutes, you go find your airline and get in line. She says, okay, good. Because I don't know what's about to happen now, and I still have this New York thing in my head, I'm still alert. And so this guy takes us to our airline, and we get in line, and we're going to tip him. And in Lebanon, the currency is lira, right? And so we give him $20 USD, US dollars, which is a small fortune in Lebanon, right? And so we think we're tipping him pretty well to take care of us. And as I hold out the cash to hand it to him, he doesn't even lift up his hands to take it. He just like looking at me, like he's disgusted with how much, with how little money I'm tipping him, right? and I've been to Lebanon before, so I recognize this little gambit, this negotiation gambit, and he's like disgusted. And he doesn't say anything, but it would be like he said, "I spit on your grave," I spit on your mother's grave, and Renee is like, "Oh my gosh, Michael, you've insulted him." And she starts to dig into her purse for some more cash. And I can't stop her. I know that this is a gambit, but she doesn't. And so we're gonna give this guy some more money. And so she finds another $10. Now we're giving him $30. Remember, 20 was a small fortune in lira. Now we're giving him $30 because he said to us, Madame, and he keeps pointing to where we left Claire, that he's going to go look after Claire if we tip him properly. This is kind of the exchange, the idea that we get. So Renee gives him the extra $10. Claire's over there, and as soon as he has the $30 in hand, he goes that way. And he goes into a back room, and we never see him again. When we got back to the States, I asked Claire, because we saw her at a meeting, luncheon, and I said, what happened with that guy at the airport? She says he never came back. So this is an old negotiation trick that porters use in some parts of the world. I assume, by the way, they also use this trick in New York City. But it's an interesting takeaway from a place that we thought we were going to have all kinds of problems. We had no problems whatsoever, and then we fell for the oldest trick in the book when we got back to the airport. By the way, I took a picture of the guy's vest as we walked through the airport because they're all tagged with ID numbers, worker ID numbers, and I tweeted the airline and the airport about what happened. Did not hear back from either of them. But this is just what happens when you travel. You learn a little bit. We're not worried about the money at all, but I do feel that guy took me for a ride. So keep your eyes open when you travel. Trust your base instincts, and everything will turn out just fine. It's a big, big, beautiful world out there. This is not to cast aspersions on Lebanon or any country in particular, but when you travel, keep your eyes open, ladies and gentlemen, and look out for yourselves. More travel tips in my travel playlist on YouTube. Subscribe to be notified of new videos. Thanks very much, everybody. Travel safe.